Everything out here, I'm sure, has a story. All the farms he pulled this stuff off of to build the collection. Jack definitely had an eye. He pulled in all sorts of unique oddities. And it's auction day, and we'll see what they bring and who gives them a new home. Out in Copeland, Kansas today. It is auction day once again. And this one's a really, really neat collection. Guy had a lot of tractors and trucks and cars. All kinds of old relics out here. So we are going to take a look around, see what we find. So this is Jack's collection. He died a year ago at age 87. If it was old and odd and unique, he had it and found it and brought it here. It's all selling today. Except for what's in the buildings. There'll be a couple more auctions out here. Looks like a mine cart. Special, built by the Truax Manufacturing Company, 1723 to 29 Wazee Street, Denver, Colorado. And there's a little plate, Bolthoff Supply. Thing hauled the ore back in the day. I'll apologize in advance for the wind. We are way out in western Kansas, and it is a howling out here. We had a big rain through yesterday, and a big wind to follow it. So that's what we got today. Neat little Delco shock display. If that's cheap, I'm in on it. About 12 or so years ago, I bought out a Monroe shock dealer. There are all kinds of other brands, and so I look for some of that advertising now and then. Really neat street closed sign. Three matching early ride-on mowers. Wow. Antique tire machine. I probably won't exhaustively hold on every piece, just because there's so much here to see. Super neat hydraulic press. So if I skip over something, I apologize in advance. I do try and keep these walk-arounds an hour or less. Jack. Some sort of, I would assume, for dairy, but you never know. I've been told that these old iron sinks are valuable to people to refurbish. Cute little water fountain. Looks like a brand new one. They never put the spout on. Another old tire changer. Now they said Jack had restored an old truck and a tractor, and collected and collected and collected some more. These little general store buildings. Kind of neat that he built them to display his stuff in. Today's auction is just for the items outside. Set it up. Have a nice rustic aesthetic. Here you got your Ford battery shelf. That's actually Firestone, and I believe that Ford's painted over. It's kind of an interesting ghosted relic of time. Really nice Scully barrel. These concrete white eagles, I believe, are for petroleum company. Got the neat little cupola. There's a neat handmade tire machine. These old farmers were resourceful. This little Wayne oil dispenser. And a junior sized one. Really neat galvanized riveted old piece. I've got a 1920s, I think, hardware store catalog that shows a lot of this type of stuff. If I can find that when I edit this video, I'll try and put some pictures in if I can find any of these things that are listed in there. Give a little historical context for some of the things laying out here. There's the big mobile loopsters. Little Saginaw 4-speed. Big iron kettles. IHC McCormick. I am not exactly sure what that is. I could probably overuse the phrase "what's at corner" out here. Some neat little Model T solid tires. Those things are cool. Probably 60s or 70s era gas pump. These aren't super valuable, but if you want something neat to display, you can save a lot of money versus something that's older. Grader with a small block Chevy. See, they turned those manifolds upside down. Everything out here, I'm sure, has a story. All the farms he pulled this stuff off of to build the collection. Massey with the bucket. Another Alice grader. So in that last video you guys saw, they sold a running one that didn't bring much. So I'm thinking realistically, these ones out here are probably just parts machines. I'm not really sure what the market is on old tractor stuff. I know some of it's kind of softened over the decades of recent. Every one of these old collectors that passes, more of this stuff comes to market. Sinclair Litholine, little iron wheeled oil barrel cart. The antique forge, it's kind of neat. Fire hose cart. These are really neat Weaver jacks. And this, a couple of Chevrolet transmissions. Some sort of, more than likely a lathe, I would think. Belt driven, obviously. You got the little collet there to chuck your workpiece in. Probably not 100% vibration free, but at least smooth enough to cut something decent enough for what they were doing with it. Lots of parts, fenders, rims and tires. No idea really who will show up today, so it's going to be interesting to see who's here and what happens. 2627T roadster bodies. I'll have to look through and see if there's possibly a pair of doors. Oh, there they are right there. My sleep deprived mind skipped right over them. So, back in the rows. Hey, here's a 15-inch Ford wheel. T-frames that were reused and repurposed into all kinds of things. Some sort of maybe saddle bench, possibly. Some oil tanks off the delivery wagons. That was really old. I would guess it probably would be something horse-drawn. Everything out here would be a neat idea for. Like this little plate boiler, make yourself a folk art locomotive out of it. This is super neat. That is a home-built wind charger with an old tractor magneto. Look at this, there's the old truck bed. Still has the writing on it. 3-digit phone number for electrical repairs. Could you even imagine? There's some TT cabs. Back here, there's a C cab. That's a oddball piece to find. A running TT is probably $7,500 retail if it's really good. So there's not a huge amount of value in these, especially without the doors. I think the rat rod thing has kind of died off. There is a 48,950 Ford bed. T-engine. These old worm drive rear axles are what the TT trucks had. There's a whole T-engine with an auxiliary transmission. It's kind of neat. Another section of a delivery tank. So each of those had the different oil or fuel or whatever separated into certain compartments. There's half of a touring car. Think of old Tom Joad on 66, loaded down. Somebody in the Depression cut that thing to turn it into a pickup. Kind of a neat old Sun gear and Planet gear. Apparatus of some kind. What is that thing? Sandwich manufacturing. There's a definite what's it corner. Appears it's mounted on the wood section there and would have stood up assumedly. But I'm not sure of that. If you know, let us know. Another cute little delivery tank. That thing is barely bigger than a 55-gallon drum. There's a little, presumably a spreader, repurposed. This old mesh fence sells. There's a long TT bed. Another worm drive rear. Looks like the base of a baggage cart, at least half of the base. There's a whole nother row of TTs. Sans doors. It's kind of neat, the little anti-rattle fender brace. That one looks like a factory piece. I've seen another type before. If I can find any of those in the catalogs, I'll sure put some splits in here and show those in the video. These things would just really make neat yard art. Set them out somewhere and just look at it. Pile of T-blocks, flatheads. Those have 6-blade fans on them. Probably good eBay merchandise. imagine back in the 20s they'd take these out with the harvest crews and farm with them, and then when the Dust Bowl came, times was hard. They used them up and parked them. Body parts. That grill guard's probably a good eBay piece. I'm assuming that's 48 to 50 Ford truck. Roadster deck lid or coupe deck lid. Presumably Model A bed. More fenders, stacks of fenders. Wheels and parts and a little trailer probably hauled lots of relics into this place. 1964 F600. Really solid truck with assuredly non-functional brakes from sitting. Thing's totally rust-free. Showing 56,000 miles. The cardboard headliner's still in relatively good shape. It's a nice truck. Just so many of them around and so few people into them. That's probably $1,000 truck on an auction, and probably struggle to be a $2,000 truck retail, at least in our area. But you could buff that paint out and make it look like new, like they did the last auction out here on the 63 Chevy. Those two would be direct competitors back in the day. You got the Armstrong heat shield tire, my classic tire. Super solid straight truck. There's a Farmall Super C with the wide front. T-frame. Another 26, 27. This looks like it was an actual roadster coupe. It's hard for me to tell when they're all torn apart. This thing was parked in 1940. And it has the accessory Badger bumper from Milwaukee. Any of these would just be a great piece to stick out in the pasture and look at. Chassis. Now this thing's got accessory rear bumpers and Accessory tire cover with the tail light. Is that something cursive script light? That's a neat. That whole piece extends off the frame and has a little Y-shaped brace. That's pretty cool.
I didn't know they come out with these lights on the fender.
Yeah, probably aftermarket.
Way aftermarket.
Find an accessory catalog and see what they were and what they called them. Yeah, these were such a bare bones vehicle that you could have a secondary business of selling accessory stuff for them and have a lot of buyers. Like those disc wheels are an optional thing. It's kind of neat.
This is a Frankenstein here, though. It just had extensions.
Oh yeah.
Look at the frame. Did you see the frame size in the back?
Oh wow.
A thick frame.
TT truck frame and then
If it is, it's turned around backwards or something, isn't it? No? No? It is a TT truck frame.
Yep.
But I don't know how they done it. I don't understand it.
Probably wish every one of these could tell a story.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep. Ford. There's another one of these Alice graders. My understanding is that Alice is the bottom of the barrel as far as collector interest on tractors. So they're probably realistically parts machines. There's a mobile painting stand. It's kind of neat. Ferguson. Little overhead valve. There's kind of an interesting one. They built a whole aluminum hood for that. Finished it and everything. Lots of parts cabinets. Items and items. Howdy. Piston rings cabinet. That is a Goodyear battery shelf. Stocked with headlights. Bolt bins. There's an antique bed in very, very nice shape. I heard a story of an old tea that a guy restored that was used in an orchard, and all it ever held was fruit, and the bed was still pristine. And this one's probably led a life about that easy. So, oil can collection. Fleet, the Kendall, mobile. That Norse is pretty good can. I've had pretty good luck with evaporust or just straight acid. I'll clean that off, but you gotta oil it down so it protects it again. I bet that thing would have a chance of cleaning up okay. Really long T running boards.
Okay, now what are these?
Another old lathe.
Chrome deals, but it looks like
Some kind.
So
Is that what these
they're
are?
1.5 by 1/4 inch chrome.
Presumably.
Oh,
Leather
I bet you're right.
buggy
I bet
fenders.
you're right.
Well, I got enough left.
I bet you're
I
right.
can stand out in the winter storm and be all right.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I never seen a hole.
A few more tractors. Farmall cab. Appears that might have been older restoration that was left outside in the decades following. There's the old acetylene generator made by Smith Welding Equipment, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I saw online the other day guys are recording dates on acetylene bottles, and there's still quite a few that are over 100 years old that are still in service. Is this a gas pump or a railroad signal box? I'm guessing gas pump. Super neat old chain hoist. This old auto equipment has good collector interest. It's also a Weaver, Springfield, Illinois. The guys that collect that stuff, Weaver is among the desirable brands, and they also made wrecker cranes. Any of that stuff is sought after. There's an all steel forge, iron and steel. And who made this thing? Champion Blower Forge, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Stack of tires. Not sure what those are. More tractors. Ferguson's decent. Stored inside. This is International 300. Also been stored inside. Here's a real oddball. This is a propane Ferguson 30. Haven't ever shown one of those on the channel. There's some chrome reverse 14-inch Chevrolet wheels. If anyone rebuilds a American Graffiti Impala, that's what you'd put on it. Electric Marketeer Manufacturing, 2195 West Highway 99, Redlands, California. And there's another address, Redland Boulevard. So that's got a very little rear axle. Not even sure what that is. Yet another what's it corner. I like to look at the addresses on those in Google Maps and see what those properties look like so many decades after. Here's a look at the propane carburetor and the setup on this Ferguson. The tractor's in really good shape. I know propane tractors aren't terribly collectible, but if somebody was wanting an example of that one, you wouldn't probably be able to look very many other places than here and find one. Bricks and wood, probably the pieces to build his next little display shed with. 87, he lived a lot of years, but none of us have enough time to finish all the projects we collect. Well, this is kind of neat. This is a 3/4 ton. They show the year as a 46 Ford. Just wonder where the rest of the parts are. That cab is super nice. Very honest original truck. GMC 1 ton. It's got fairly new radials on the back. Probably was a running usable rig not too long ago. Sign business. Steel grain wagon. Very uncommon. Can't say I've ever seen one. Farm relics. When we'd go to auctions growing up, a lot of my memories, you'd see guys missing hands or fingers or even lower arms, and see this type of machinery definitely do it. But now farm machinery is built with guards and the safety message is out, and very few accidents of losing body parts anymore. Steel wheel wagon box chassis. It's kind of an interesting one. This is a little home-built dump trailer. Jack had a thing for his road graders. There's the old manual pull type. That's a really small one. Got a little dirt slip with it. Western wheeled scraper. You can see that thing sat. Got the tree grown in it. That's a very good answer to a question I had. Looks Looks like the answer is that there will be loading assistance. It's a nice machine, solid tires. This grader is a square deal number 2C, manufactured by Adams and Company of Indianapolis. Do we find a brand on this one? Yep. What is this? Hard to see, but it's C.D. Edwards Manufacturing Company. The steel angle iron, Cambria, USA, and this one, Illinois. Could you imagine steel foundry anywhere in Illinois today? A very heavy duty wagon frame, another T-frame. This has actually got the wide 16-inch tires on it. Got a pair of them. Look pretty decent. There's a AA, I believe, spoke wheel. There's the disc type. More T-frames. There's a tag on this. Ruxtel. Wow. Of course, that's the rear end, but you need more than just that to use it. It's broke out there. I'm sure every piece of that is seized solid, but Ruxtel's a Ruxtel. Little harrows. There's a split rim wide 5. Can't say I've ever seen one of those. You got the old 48 to 52 era Ford grill guard. There's rear pickup bumpers. You always got to look at these because sometimes they'd have the dealer names in them, which neither of these do. Sickle mower. Who made this one? New Idea, Coldwater, Ohio. Here's another one of these accessory rear tire carriers. Sadly, that one's been hit and broke. That could be welded and fixed. There is pump, presumably. What is this thing? Yep. Coulds, Coulds, Seneca Falls, New York. Back when Made in USA meant something. Looks like Golds. decayed plastic tire. That's a pole grader. Got the Model T engine-derived grain blower. I know not every piece out here will be saved, but a lot of this, obviously, even though it will never be runnable or usable again, it'll be good to see it preserved as artifacts of farming history. This is a 40 or a 41. This is the one that does not have the V8 stamped in the side of the hood. A lot of good parts on that one. So here's the finished restorations that Jack had completed. He was an Alice guy. It's a very good quality restoration. Finished out nice. I have not ever seen this belly piece. Some attachment that went on there. Is it a belly mower? Possibly. And this little guy, that is a rear-engined G. That is a true oddball. Skinny little tires. I'm sure there's some specific reason they built it this way. A little radiator, a little gas tank. Go up at a show with that and definitely be the only guy to have it. There you go. Looks like you mount the attachments down in the middle there. That's actually a pretty innovative idea. You'd be pushing the implement rather than pulling it. Whatever difference the engineers thought that made. Of course, nobody else has built a tractor that way since. Interesting footnote in agricultural history. Here's the winch truck that he restored. Mark 47, 46 tag on it. Very nice truck, but not perfect. Now this one's kind of an oddball out here. This is a 34 Chevrolet coach. And we look underneath to find the model. Those big hydraulic units mean that it is a master. Standard had a straight axle. The standard would have been appealing to the farmers on the dirt roads. The buggy axle would take a lot more abuse. think also in their marketing they just figured that the conservative types would want something cheaper, easier to repair. And as far as technology is concerned, they'd be late adopters. So in their marketing they figured that by holding on to the old buggy axle, they wouldn't alienate and lose customers. Very original inside. With a little accessory vacuum fan. Probably 70s era upholstery, which makes sense with the 73 tag from when they parked it. Got the little Arvin heater switch. You can still see the wood graining painted on the dash inserts. Showing 64,000 miles. Look how worn that clutch pedal is. Now there is your sovereign service. Little focus in on that. There we go. Oil change sticker. This being a well-bodied car, there is a little bit of droop in the doors. See the gap there in the body lines. This whole car has been brush painted. The big question, does it still turn? Doesn't seem likely. The accessory fram filter. It's the trunk back. Body. Car. Kawasaki. This is a sensible UTV, not one of the $30,000 ones. International Harvester. All restored. Never seen one of those. What is it and what does it do? Tell us in the comments. Little international station here.
Only thing you can do with it now is put a new set of tires. Yeah, the front wheel's be fine, just like a.
We got the hair.
Repaco.
That radiator.
Friend of ours hooked a 4-cylinder little Crosley to a Cub Cadet rear end.
I might have.
We got a friend that hooked a Crosley to a Cub Cadet rear end. Highway patrol got him in Kansas or something at the show. You do the math of
There's a
My grandma
little kit of some kind. Dirt track car. Nothing eats money like a race car. One more Alice. And that's the end. The crew cab is a spectator here today. D10 Alice. That's odd little tractor. Kind of a cute thing. So presumably you'd go buy the kit and tear apart a Model T, and this is what you build out of it.
railroad.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, narrow track railroad.
Wow. That makes sense. Is this what they towed the mine cart with. Or is it how they inspected the track? Just got from point A to point B without a locomotive. Jack definitely had an eye. He pulled in all sorts of unique oddities. And it's auction day, and we'll see what they bring and who gives them a new home. One little row I skipped. There's an antique dump truck body missing the gate. It's actually really good shape. Hasn't been worked to death. Some old T-frame with a belt-driven accessory of some kind on it. They actually extended the back of that. Farm equipment was expensive and T's were cheap, so they did what they did. A couple interesting service tracks. Factory built stuff. Pretty neat. This one have ramps to get on it. Well, it's about time to bid, so this video will be part 1, and tune in a week for part 2.